That wasn't very effective. So let me do this one more time, okay? So hold it nice and tight. Let's readjust, let's reposition. So I have a nice grip on my twine. That's one, and that's two. And now while continuing to pull it, to make sure that the grip doesn't actually loosen, we're just going to go in and make this little knot right here. And again, I'm not looking to really bulge it. I'm not looking to tie this up too tightly or anything, guys. The only thing I'm really looking to do here is just to make sure that these flaps are being kept on the inside. Okay, there we go, nice and simple. And all I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and take my trusty little knife, and we're going to go ahead and just trim off that excess twine so it doesn't burn in the oven itself. Okay, and I'm just going to reposition this one closer on in, and we're going to do this from the center out. Okay, so we're going to start from the center too. Ooh, I might have cut these a little bit too short, it feels like, but we'll make do. Country girls make do. Okay, let's tie that up, and now let's go ahead and get that second knot, guys. I'm just adjusting my body really quickly so I can get a good angle on this. Okay, there we go. And all this is doing, again, we're just keeping the meat nice and even as it goes. Okay, that's one. And while we're holding it nice and tight, we'll go in with the second one. Beautiful. And again, this has already been thoroughly seasoned with salt. You can also add some black pepper. I'm not doing it because it's going to be cooking in the oven. I don't want to burn it. Right? But you can. It would be okay with some pepper as well. But really, any spices that you would like. As long as they're not like herb-based spices, because those do tend to burn quite early on. So guys, again, we've secured the flap. We've secured that flap, and let's go ahead and secure that last flap. Okay, last one. Tie that up nice and tight. And tie that up nice and tight. Beautiful. And let's go ahead and once again just trim off all of the remaining twine that's just hanging off by the edges, because we don't need it, and it's just going to burn in the oven, and then just like throw in a couple of fibers and it's just not going to do anything for us. So every single last one of these, go ahead, get them done, get them processed. Would the pepper be safe? Yeah, the pepper would be fine on the inside, although it would just be fine. You don't have to overthink this. Because of the fact that we're doing a very slow cook at 250 degrees, okay, and we're only going for 115 degrees internal heat, you can absolutely season the outside. Okay, guys, that's it. That's my baby boy. Look at him. He's all ready to go. Jack, inappropriate. That's too much. I don't like that. So, guys, take a look. This is my chunk of meat. It's now been properly, thoroughly tied up, really nice and even. We've tucked the flaps in a way, okay? And now this is going to go into a 250 degree oven. Let me go ahead and just take off my gloves, and we'll talk about this one more time, and we'll do a little recap on this and everything that we've accomplished for the roast beef itself. And we'll wash off that paring knife. I think a moderator can take care of that, Jack. One of our moderators, Oski, if you'd be able to help out. Okay, guys, so once again, what did we do with this piece of beef? Well, yesterday when I bought it, I dry brined it with salt. Why? To increase moisture retention, to season it thoroughly through the inside, and to slightly dry out the outside of it so that it's able to go ahead and get some nice color on it. Next, we put it onto a sheet tray so that it can once again air dry in my fridge overnight. Do you have to do this step? No, but it is ideal because that's how you get a juicy piece of beef. Then, we took a bunch of butcher twine, we folded in the flaps. Why? So that it cooks nice and even. And then we went ahead and we tied it up all the way around. Okay, nice and even all the way through. Chat, let's please stop talking about it. And then we put it back onto the same sheet tray, and it's going to go in a 250 degree oven. I don't care how much time that you have. I don't want to see you doing roast beef at 450. I don't want to see you doing roast beef at 400 degrees or anything like that. And the reason for this is because if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to overcook the outside by the time that the inside is done. Okay, next rule. Do not go by time. Let me tell you something right now, everybody. Let me tell you something right now. Let me have a sip of water. Is everybody listening? Is everybody paying attention to this? Because this is going to be important. The worst thing that you can do is to cook big cuts of meat purely by time when it is not something that you've repeated over and over. I want to make sure that I have a yes chef from everybody listening. There's so many nonsense recipes that say, oh, put a roast beef in the oven for an hour. What if our roast beefs don't weigh the same? What if they don't have the same thicknesses? If you repeat something over and over, then you have like the visual cues of how much the meat buckles, the timing, and then you know the size of the meat and you can build up that intuition over time. You absolutely need, especially if you're a beginner cook, for a thick cuttish meat, is a nice temperature probe, a nice little thermometer. We're going for 115 degrees internal. I don't want to see you cook this bad boy up to 140. It's going to be dry and it's going to be tough. 115, nice and medium rare, and then we'll be finishing it on a pan to go ahead and get some color on the final product. Okay, low and slow for thick cuts of meat, hot and quick for thin ones. And so guys, I'm going to go ahead and transfer this to my 250 degree oven. I would be doing 225 if I wasn't doing this on stream, so I'm slightly rushing it. Ideally, 225 for the roast beef is pretty baller as well. So in it goes. I'm only setting a timer for an hour. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes, guys. And then we'll be checking back on it in an hour. Again, that's just so that we know when to go ahead and get a temperature reading on it. One thing I did not mention was an hour before I started, cooking, I did take the meat out of the fridge. That does help it, to sort of bring it up to room temperature before you begin cooking. Going from like a cold piece of meat to a hot oven is a little bit tricky because again, you can risk overcooking the outside. With a roast beef, especially at a low temperature at 225 or at 250, that's not that big of a risk, but it does expedite the cooking time slightly by making sure that you go ahead and you take out that roast beef out of the fridge. So guys, even though this was really, really simple, we were super intentional with a lot of our different steps and a lot of our different methodology. Can I please get a yes, chef? I want to make sure that everybody understands and everybody's listening. Okay. So the roast beef is in the oven. We'll check on it in about an hour's time. We'll give it a little temperature probe. And in the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly wash off my contaminated paring knife because we'll be needing this for a couple of things later on. My trick today is, or the goal of today is, I hope that I can get a bunch of other stuff done in the meantime before, the beef is actually done. Hopefully we won't have a lot of downtime. If we have a lot of downtime, that will be my fault. And so guys, as always, I do recommend every single one of you, if you haven't already done so, please ask me any and all cooking questions that you may have, because I am here to help you to cook at home. So John Dahlia, we're doing 115 degrees internal, and then after we take it out, we're going to be putting it on a hot pan to get a really nice color on it, to get a really nice sear on it, until it's about 125, 130 in total. Also, hello to Yoni. Hello, hello. So guys, I've washed off my paring knife, washed it off a little bit of soap, and now let's move on to the next step, the next stage of today. Ali, you asked me, do you like baking as well? I worked at a bakery for 3 years and learned so much. I'm very good at baking, but I don't love baking pastry because I don't eat sweets, and it's not very ingredient focused. I love the idea of bread baking, and I'd love to get into that someday because it's a lot more ingredient focused, and I can focus on buying a really nice type of flour. So guys, we have here my cutting board ready to go for this. And now let's begin with everything else that we need to do. And we need to start by talking about the potatoes. So let me tell you something right now. You can absolutely get into the microwave cooking and think about what is the optimal kind of potato for a potato salad. Do you know why I'm using Idaho potatoes, even if they're not ideal in texture for a potato salad? It's because this is what I had at home. And I needed potatoes that I needed to get rid of. Okay? And so that is the way that I want all of you cooking at home. If a recipe for something as simple as a potato salad asks that you go and buy a certain kind of potato and that you have another kind of potato at home, I would implore you to figure out how to use those potatoes first before you go out of your way to buy something else. Because the goal of cooking at home is to first and foremost always use what you have. So ideally, I would have loved a Yukon Gold potato. I would have loved a fingerling potato for this or something, right? Those would have been amazing. Idaho potatoes, they'll still be delicious. Okay, it's a potato salad. It's a potato salad. Let's get serious for a second, okay? Let's get real. We don't have to completely go into the micro of something like this. That defeats the point of what a potato salad is supposed to be. So guys, here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna peel these bad boys, especially because these are slightly older potatoes with developed eyes. We're going to have to dig out each of those eyes, and then we'll be placing them into a nice big pot full of some cool water. And the reason why we'll be putting them into a pot with water is a couple of reasons. So as you guys may know, potatoes, among other types of similar fruits and vegetables, they do oxidize. They do oxidize. And what that means is the potatoes will turn brown. They'll turn brown when they're exposed to oxygen. And so we're making sure that whenever we peel the potato, and the potato skin is naturally protecting the inner flesh of the potato, we will be, just immediately dunking it into the cold water. Okay? And so, also another thing, especially because of the fact that we're cooking whole potatoes, we might only be cutting these in half once. We do want to make sure that we're starting off with cool water. By plunging them into hot water, same idea as cooking meat, you'll overcook the outside by the time that the inside is actually properly done and anything. And so, I'm going to just go ahead and move my keyboard ever so slightly. And I'm going to go ahead and position my pot. And as always, everybody, I have my waste bowl ready to go. So I just gave these potatoes a light little scrub. You don't really even have to scrub them if you're going to be peeling them. I just find that it's a nice thing to do sometimes. Okay, just to get off any excess soil, any excess stuff. I'm grabbing a couple of gloves because potatoes are quite starchy. And guys, while I'm actually doing the process of peeling, this is also a very good time to ask me any and all cooking questions that you may have. And so also, do you have to peel these? No. You just have to give them a really good thorough scrubbing. I just don't love the skin of an Idaho potato. I find that Idaho potato skins, they tend to be a little bit papery, okay, in a fairly unpleasant way for me. And so guys, let's go ahead and get this task done. Let's get the job done. I'm going to go ahead and grab my little vegetable peeler. As always, if you're struggling to peel a vegetable, it is time to get a new peeler. Okay, peelers aren't really built to be sharpened or anything. These are meant to be easy tools to use. You can buy a cheap one, and then these are the kinds of things that you're throwing away as you progress throughout your cooking journey. You throw it away, you buy a new one. Carbon steel ones are really, really nice because they hold on to an edge longer. You just have to be careful that they don't rust. So guys, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, I'm going to use my thumb as a bit of a pivot, and I'm going down the entire length of the potato. We're using the pivot. We're not doing this technique. It's pretty inefficient and it's a lot of wasted motions. It's a lot easier for us to just simply grab the potato, nice big long strokes all the way through. And so you can see that this potato is full of eyes. And so we're going to dig out every single one of these eyes. August and Ryan, you've asked me, how do I choose side dishes for stuff? And so that's a really good question. It depends on what your intention is, August and Ryan. And so let me talk about what that actually means. Because of the fact that I'm cooking at home, and what this means is, I'm not really doing anything celebratory, I'm not really cooking for a party. Also, Stolen Coley, we'll get to you in just a second. We're not really, cooking for a party. We're not really cooking anything celebratory. The way that I choose side dishes is the first thing I always look at is what I have in the fridge. Because of the fact that I wanted a roast beef, I wanted to have some potatoes. I have these Idaho potatoes. And then I wanted something fresh and with a lot of herbs, and so I thought of the herb potato salad itself. So what I actually think about in terms of pairing side dishes is I need to think about what is the function of that side dish. With something like a roast beef, because of the fact that it's going to be nice and juicy on the plate, I would want something that could theoretically soak up some of those beef juices, right? Because you cut into it, there's eventually going to be some beef juice on the plate, and it's very pleasant to have some nice warm potatoes with the roast beef. And so for that reason, I didn't want to do a typical cold potato salad. I didn't want to do a cold potato salad because a cold potato salad is meant to be eaten separately. And I don't really want a mayonnaise-drenched salad to be the thing that is soaking up my beef juices. And so I wanted a warm potato dish. I wanted a warm potato dish that I could store in the fridge. Right? Because a potato salad is really, really nice to just have in your fridge. You can eat it lukewarm. You can eat it cold. You can eat it however you would like. Right? And so that's how I came up with this specifically. So what you're typically looking to do with side dishes is you need to think, does this have a lot of sauce? Does this sauce need to be something that is soaked up? Is this a very fatty dish? Is it very rich? Is it really heavy? If it's really fatty and rich, you typically want to have a nice vegetable side dish of some kind to really break it up. Something nice and acidic. Okay? So that's the way that I've always thought about it, at least. So guys, these are potatoes. They kind of suck. They're pretty old and they're full of eyes. And so, in a potato salad form, they would be perfect. But I wouldn't want to keep the skin on because we'd really need to get rid of a lot of the skin just to be able to get to the good parts of the potato. Right? So with an old potato like this, we're peeling it really generously. Okay, so Stolen Coil, you asked me, do I post a recipe at the end of this? And I do not. And the reason for this is because I'm very explicitly not teaching people recipes. What I want to teach people is how to understand each ingredient. I never want people to look at what I'm doing and then try to replicate it. I want you to think about the techniques that I'm doing here and take inspiration with it and then sort of adapt it to the kinds of ingredients and the kinds of tools that you have in your home kitchen setting. Also, thank you so much, Son of Ra, for the sub. Thank you. So all I'm really doing here is I'm trying to teach you techniques, I'm trying to build you a toolkit, but I'm not trying to teach you any recipes. Okay. So, again, we're going to go through these potatoes again. I just want to get all the peeling done. Jack, you asked me what I do with the peel of the potato. In an ideal world, I would compost it. In this case, I will just be throwing it away. So yes, it's a little bit wasteful, but I'm okay with it. I have been, you know, I have come to the conclusion that I'm okay with that sometimes. But yeah, you can also, like, if you, like, again, thoroughly scrub the potatoes and then you peel them, you could theoretically fry them. With Idaho potatoes, I do find, again, because of how many different pockets of soil the skin ends up taking up, the skin itself isn't all that delicious. Chef, how should I properly clean fruits and vegetables? Well, that is entirely dependent on your fruit and vegetable and what you'll be doing with it. Typically speaking, though, I just, you know, with like things like tomatoes or things like apples, you know, I soak them in water, I give them a little scrub, and then I'm good to go. With leafy greens, I highly recommend a salad spinner. We can talk about herbs aplenty, right? With things like herbs, with things like cilantro, with things like lettuce, right? You want to make sure that you're thoroughly submerging them in cold water and doing at least a couple of passes. And the reason for that is because they have a lot of sand and they have a lot of dirt, and they can sometimes have bugs. And so you basically want to give it 3 big soaks, not over a strainer, but in a bowl with water, and then pour it out. You want to give it 3 big soaks, and then I always finish it in a salad spinner. I think everybody should invest in a nice salad spinner. A salad spinner is the heart of my kitchen at this point. It keeps all of my herbs just constantly going. So guys, we're peeling up all these potatoes. I know this isn't that exciting of a task. I know this isn't all that interesting. I do apologize for this, but we got to get this done. We got to process this, right? So we're just getting the last of, like, the big topmost potato skin. And it's okay if there's a little bit left over. It's not the end of the world. Okay. So a little bit won't be the end of the world or anything. I just want to get rid of most of it. Allie, you can absolutely bug me as much as you would like. Again, I am here to teach you all how to cook. It doesn't have to just be about this dish. And so with potatoes, again, if I'm going to be cooking the skin in any way, I give them a really thorough scrub. Right? Otherwise, I just give them a real gentle scrub, and then I peel them off. And potatoes, especially because they're covered in soil, you know, they are grown in dirt. Man on the Net asks, is there a food that I do not like? And the answer is, really, really pretentiously, no. And the reason why there isn't a single food that I don't like is because I think the only thing that I dislike are bad interpretations and bad preparations of certain ingredients. So I will like every single dish when it's done super well. Now, I have dishes that I'm pretty indifferent about. This was brought up last stream. One of the things I'm pretty indifferent about is gazpacho. And the reason for that is because I don't think I was really conditioned or brought up to enjoy cold soups when I was younger. And so contextually, it feels a little bit odd to me. It feels a little bit odd to me. It doesn't feel like the best. And so I feel like if I just ate it enough, I could get over it and start to enjoy it. But I've also never had a gazpacho that I fell in love with. But also, a lot of people have a lot of mediocre interpretations of dishes. Okay, so guys, these potatoes, again, they're old, they're moldy on the inside. These bad boys are going to need a lot of love. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this dirty plate. It has done a wonderful job. It held the potatoes for us. And now I'm going to go ahead and throw that into the dishwasher because, again, we are cooking at home, and that's what it means to cook at home. I'm also setting another pot of water to boil, and we'll talk about that wine in just a second. Okay, guys, let's move on to the paring a knife stage. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick up every single one of these potatoes, and we're going to inspect what does this actually need. So we have a bunch of eyes to dig out. We're going to go ahead and trim this up. We're going to make diagonal incisions in, like, where the parts where, like, the potatoes seem to have gotten punctured. And take a look. It goes all the way inside. Guys, these potatoes, they do kind of suck. These are not the best potatoes. So we're going in with a paring knife. And this is why you want to have a paring knife. You want to have a nice, small, agile knife that will let you really get in there and really trim and clean things up. Okay? So again, all of these little pockets of dirt, all of these eyes, all of them, they have to go through this potato salad. They gotta go. We have no use for them. We have no purpose for them. Okay? So there you go. This one's mostly cleaned up. So anything that you see that looks like black or blue, that's all gonna have to go. Okay? So let's move on to the next one, and some are better off than others. This one, for instance, not all that amazing. Some of these eyes, they go deep, guys. So we're going in there, we're doing a bit of a twisting motion. We're not trying to completely annihilate this potato. Otherwise, it can and will overcook in the boiling water. Okay, let's continue just open all of them up. And we're going in there. Beautiful. The only annoying part about my paring knife is that the blade does end up, like, jutting out, so I can't actually get as aggressive of a grip on it as I would like to. So a lot of paring knives, they don't have that. So again, we're going through all of this. We're cleaning all of this up, guys. It's a bit of a repetitive process. I do apologize. But I do think it's essential. And again, if you don't do this, potatoes, you might just occasionally have like a bite that tastes a little grassy. Unrelated question, what phone do I use? I use an iPhone. Why do you ask that? I don't know what model of iPhone I have specifically, though. Okay, so this looks mostly okay. We've gotten rid of most of the eyes on this. We still have a little bit left over here. And guys, you're cooking at home. Take your time. Be nice and patient with this process. Have fun with it. Okay? So again, inspecting it, I see I missed a little bit over here. Let's go ahead and dig this bad boy out. Beautiful. And last one. Okay. And let's move on to the next one. And some of them will be better off than others, guys. These blue bits, those are the ones that you really just want to be like cutting off, right? Because they could end up running pretty. Right, like you see, we just did that little bit of a trim, and then we've exposed this entire pocket of potato on the inside. That's all gotta go. Okay, so just clean it up, trim it off, get rid of as much of that as you possibly can. It's just not going to be a delicious potato consuming experience if we leave that inside. Every single last one of these, they've gotta go. A nice sharp paring knife, nothing quite like it. Does an excellent job. Oof. Not that exciting. I do apologize for such like showing off like such a boiled task. It is just important. Ali, you asked me, do I ever use a mandolin? Or those slap chop things? Is that a bad idea? I do think a slap chop is a pretty bad idea. I mean, unless you absolutely need it as like an accessibility thing, I don't think anybody really needs a slap chop or anything. A mandolin, though. A mandolin might be good, though, for me to have, especially because there's some knife cuts that are pretty unrealistic to get consistently. Also, Resurgence Guild, welcome on in. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. The roast beef is in the oven. It's going. Yeah, I am gouging out all the eyes. We don't want them. The potatoes, they don't need to see anything. We're getting rid of every single last one of them. They don't need to know what's going to happen to them in the pot of boiling water. The horrors that they will have to endure. A little gruesome, excuse me. Okay, and let's pick up the next potato, guys. Let's go a little bit faster without trying to stab myself. Pick out every single last one of these eyes. Beautiful. Well, not all that beautiful, actually. It's that one, and that's this one. Lovely. A bit repetitive, a little bit annoying. I know, guys, I promise this is all going to be over so quick. Is everybody still watching, even through the parts of this potato, even through this annoying process? I want to hear a nice yes, chef, from everybody that's still actively tuning in and still watching and still paying attention to this. Have I made a ratatouille? I did a very, very long time ago. I'm glad that so many of you guys are here. It makes me so happy. Especially if you're doing something else, it makes me feel good that you're dropping whatever it is that you're doing to go to your computer to apply. Sorry, I'm a little toxic. I apologize. Let's go into, ooh, this is a bit of a nasty one. This guy right here, this one goes deep. Let's slice into it, and all of that one is gone. Excellent. Almost done, guys. We got a couple more potatoes to go. Hi, Chef. What kind of potatoes am I using? So I'm using Idaho potatoes, Eliotrope. And the reason why I'm using Idaho potatoes is because that's all I had at home today. Ideally, I love Yukon Gold potatoes for the salad. They're really, really nice and creamy. Or even something like waxy potatoes, like red potatoes and fingerling potatoes. Those are all really, really delicious. Idaho potatoes are far from my perfect choice for what is a potato salad potato. But the reason that I've chosen it, again, is purely because I want to first use what I have at home above all else. Okay, ooh, that one was deep. Oh yeah, buddy. This guy, he was down there. He was down in the trenches. Okay, and let's move on to the next one. And I believe, hopefully I don't lead all of you guys on, this might be the final potato. Okay? Ooh, this one's pretty messed up, guys. This one's gonna need a lot of work to get okay. Like, look at this. Oh, this entire end, this entire section, all that's gotta go. Let's go in here, let's dig this out. And let's dig this out. Let's clean that up. All right. I'm just going to get another puncture in here just to see and inspect it, make sure that there's nothing else on that end of the potato itself. Okay. How we looking? We're almost done, guys. And last one. Beautiful. Okay, do believe that we have gone through every single one of our potatoes, guys. And again, I'm not really measuring or counting the amount of potatoes I'm using today. I'm just using what I have at home and making whatever seems right. Okay, all I'm going to do, guys, is I'm just going to go ahead and cut these potatoes in half so they cook a little bit faster. Now, really important thing, I don't actually want you to be cutting these up into bite-sized pieces for the potato salad. And there's a very specific reason for this, guys. Everybody tap in. Do I have all of your attention? Potatoes, full of starch, they soak up liquid. They soak up the water that they cook in. And what happens when it soaks up the water that it cooks in is that it gets really, really bland. By increasing the surface area, if we were to cut it up even finer, we increase the surface area on the outside of the potato that gets overcooked first, and then it soaks up a whole bunch of extra liquid. So it's going to take longer for us, absolutely. Oh, whoa, what did I miss here? Okay. Even though it's going to take us a little bit longer to cook whole potatoes that have been cut in half than if we were to go ahead and chop these up, it's going to still lead into the optimal texture and the optimal flavor of the potato itself. We do not want it to soak up any excess liquid whatsoever, guys, okay? Okay, I want to make sure that all of you have understood me and why I'm doing this. So, really, really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and now, I'm just going to go just exchange the water, because that water is like super, super starchy. It might just end up foaming up a bunch. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this potatoey water, and we'll just put in some nice, fresh, cool water. And it's okay if you don't get rid of all of it. It's just that, again, the potatoes were a little bit dirty. I didn't super thoroughly scrub them, so I just want to get a nice, fresh batch of water inside. So please bear with me for just a moment as I get all that done. And ready to go. And you guys, you want to make sure that the potatoes are nicely covered with at least an inch of water up above, because otherwise any exposed potatoes will not be evenly cooking. Okay, all of my potatoes have been covered. I'm going to be bringing this up to a boil, and everybody, let's talk about my temperature one more time. So let's head to the stove. Let me show you this right now, okay? So, everybody, we are starting off these potatoes in intentionally cold water. I want to make sure that you're all listening. I want to make sure that you're all tapped in. It's the same exact theory as cooking thick cuts of meat. If we started off high and fast, we're going to overcook the outside of the potato. It's going to crumble up all over the place, and the inside is not going to be done in time. We're starting it off on a nice, gentle, low heat. Okay? Also, hi, I am. I'll get to your question in just a second. And so, everybody, we're going to go ahead and thoroughly season these potatoes with a bunch of salt. Most of this salt is not actually going to penetrate into the potato itself. You're basically seasoning this the same way that you would pasta water, right? Because the majority of it is actually just going to dissipate and dissolve and be thrown away. Instead, we're just going to go ahead and over-season this water to be able to compensate for it. Okay? As salty as the sea, or whatever. The salad itself is going to have seasoning, but because of the fact that we do want the potatoes to soak up some of the salt, right? We want the salt to actually properly penetrate. We want the salt to properly season the potato. So you want to add what looks like too much. And so everybody, I never want to see these potatoes aggressively boiling. I only want to see these at most at a simmer. Because again, the same exact idea. We bring them up to a boil, we drop it to a simmer, we cook it gently so the outside of the potato does not overcook. That is even more important with such thick pieces of potato. These are not thin, teeny, tiny baby potatoes, guys. Okay? These are thick boys. They take a while to cook. So we bring it up to a boil just so that we have a good idea of where the temperature is at, just so we have a good idea where the heat is at. And we're going to go ahead and slap a lid on it. We'll get that water nice and heated. Does anybody have any questions for me at the moment? I'm just going to go ahead and take a second and dump out my waste bowl, and then we'll move on and proceed with everything else that we need to do for today. My roast beef has already been in the oven for 23 minutes. That was 23 minutes of potato peeling and prep. The roast beef is going. The potatoes are boiling. We don't want the potatoes... Oh, I forgot something. I forgot one thing. There was one thing that I really, really wanted to mention. Everybody, let's talk about starches, and let's talk about their ability to retain and hold their texture. So, this is actually something that I picked up from Serious Eats. Everybody tap in right now. Whenever you add something acidic, oh, that's my other pot of water that's boiling and ready to go. We'll get to him in just a second. Whenever you have something that is acidic cooking alongside the potatoes, that actually helps them to be a little bit more firm. When you cook them with something that is alkaline or basic, the potatoes tend to crumble up a little bit more. And so this is applied with, like the Series Eats roasted potatoes, where they add in a little bit of baking soda into the water itself. It makes the outside of the potato a little bit more crumbly, and then those crumbly bits get really nice and crispy. That's not what we're looking for out of the potato salad. We're looking for the potato salad, the potatoes in it to stay, somewhat nice and firm. We don't want them to be crunchy, of course, but we don't want them to immediately turn into mashed potatoes. And so, what will help with that is just simply one little tiny glug of vinegar, maybe 2 glugs. I'm using apple cider. You can just probably use white distilled for, maximum flavor purity reasons. But I promise you, that little teeny tiny bit of apple cider vinegar, that little tiny bit of acidity, will do an excellent job with making sure that the potatoes don't fall apart too much. Okay, so again, we're heating this up nice and gentle. We're adding in the vinegar as well, and now we're bringing this bad boy up to a boil. So I'm going to go ahead and slap a lid on it, and then I will need to clean off my station really quickly before we move on into the next step. Does anybody have any questions for me? Lemon juice would also work, yes. Just the issue with lemon juice is, first of all, it's more expensive, significantly more expensive than something like vinegar is. And then the second issue with lemon juice is that its acidity does vary depending on the lemon itself, depending on the season, depending on the varietal of it. They get a little bit inconsistent from time to time. So, you can use a lemon juice, or a lemon, excuse me. It just seems a little unnecessary. That's all. I'm wiping off my potato water saturated cutting board. Alyssa and Ryan, I'm glad that this has been cool. I apologize for such we're not really doing that much today. I probably could have planned one more thing. If we have extra time, we'll do like a chimichurri on as well. I think that could be fun, just like let's eat alongside this roast beef. I'm glad you've been enjoying it. And also, everybody, if you haven't already done so, check out my Patreon, !Patreon. I'd love to be able to do this full time one day, and any and all support there is really, really, really appreciated. Okay, and I'm going to flip my cutting board over, and now we'll move on to the rest of the components for my potato salad. And so, guys, this is going to be pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited about this step. And so we'll talk about why in a second. So, I love an excess amount of herbs in my potato salad. I want it to be absolutely saturated with herbs. And so, again, the herbs of choice that I'm using for today, okay, I'm using some lovely fresh cilantro and some lovely fresh dill because I cook with it all the time, and these are both excellent to have in the fridge. I encourage you to just use whatever herbs look the freshest at your local grocery store. You're looking for soft herbs, cilantro, parsley, dill, tarragon, mint, those kinds of things.
Das war nur Spaß. Ich habe ganz kurz einen Spaß gemacht. Bitte so, nur ganz kurz. Ich werde ganz kurz sagen, wo ich was hatte. Das soll ich noch singen, sagen. vielleicht war es. Und du schau nicht so! Du schau nicht so, ich kannst mich schon! Das war Spaß, eklig. Okay, nein, ich hab's nicht. Okay, du bist hier normal, ich weiß noch, was ist. Aber du nicht! Du nicht! Du hast geschaut, ich hab 10, du hast geschaut, schrei nicht, wenn ich schrei! Okay? Nein! Hör auf! Ich hab gesagt, nein, nicht schreien! Nicht schreien! Du gehst schnell! Gehst du hin, die Feuer! Sorry. Ich bin normalerweise nicht so. So echt leid, ich bin normalerweise nicht so. Sorry. Also ich gewusst, das soll so sein. Sollte nicht so sein. Kennst du das Harte? Ganz ehrlich, ich bin nicht so. Ich hab's normalerweise nicht. Ich bin normalerweise ganz normal. Alle sagen das. Das ist echt eine ganz Neuigkeit. Das ist eine Neuigkeit. Warte kurz, Küche. Ja, das war ein Feuer. Nein, ich hab kein Feuer! Guys, sorry.